when there's not a module for that, building a contrib-worthy Drupal 8 or Drupal 9 module. Ben Melançon with the Garrick.
Thanks. Okay. See you.
Co-presented this, and Marisa Dinarte has helped me set it up. He is Dinarcon on our website, garrick.coop, and on Drupal.org and Twitter and most places. And I am MLNCN on Drupal and Twitter.org and most places. And together we are 1/3 of Garrick. Please do send us a request for the resources linked here at ask@agarrick.coop. If I don't get an email, I won't do the full blog post of resources. I will just eventually figure out how to print these slides to PDF. If I'd been able to do that, you'd at least see a nice blue background with images once in a while. So when building a Drupal site, there's the modules for that. Can be the sweetest words you hear, but what you do when there isn't one, and you can make your own. It's easy. So picture a regular, Drupal node, Drupal website. You go to create content, and you press, create page or something. So this is a regular node add page with a new content type that you created, like you can in Drupal. No code needed. Create a new content type called Frankenstein. And so you're creating a site where people can relive the great literature they may have been inspired by a famine and dangerous times like the ones we're in. So you've already created under structure content, but the save button, the usual save button in blue, doesn't communicate what you want when creating this content. So you can make a module. In your Frankenstein, you create a folder called Frankenstein, create a frankenstein.info.yml file, and with 4 lines in it is more than it needs. You can get away with 3. Name, Frankenstein, type, module, core 8.x. And then in the module file itself, 4 lines, function, Frankenstein form node, Frankenstein form alter, ampersand $form is the only part that's used. The rest of this, it's part of this the form alter signature function, but you don't need to use it. Translate it. 5 lines across 2 files, basically, and that's a module. I think we're done here. If anyone has any ideas for the next 40 minutes, please post in chat. The .info files, of course, are not PHP. They're just the yet another markup language is what YAML stands for, but just a simpler way of giving a few values without needing to write code. And the .module files are PHP, and you need to start it off with PHP. You do not close your PHP functions, PHP blocks in Drupal to prevent white space at the end of files, potentially causing errors on some systems. So where to put these files, the folder hierarchy of a Drupal site, and I'll just read it out to you, but it's modules. So you have Drupal installed, and it will have folders called core, files, libraries, sites, themes in Drupal 8. It's the directory called modules right in that top level that you want to use. And then you are encouraged to create a subfolder in there called custom. You don't have to. Anywhere under the modules directory, your module will work. And now, the big reveal, the form looks identical to what it did before. You need to enable your module. If you're on the command line, as I obviously am from looking at this presentation all the time, drush-y en for enable Frankenstein. And that slide's probably the most important you're going to be shown in developing a when developing a module. Don't forget to enable it after you have that first thing of a .info file, so that it can be found and the code can be looked for. Now we reload our page and we have that node form, but instead of the save button, we have reanimate as the action in the save button. So now you know how to make a module. But you're thinking that's easy if one knows the exact words and symbols to put in that file. But what we're going to go over is how to figure it all out. So, yeah, picture well-constructed Lego motor. That's your online commerce engine. Amazing black Lego guitar. It's a music media gallery, which you can get in Drupal. All made for you. And then the module you need is maybe just a pile of Lego pieces. The exact piece you want is not there. And it's been often said that Drupal is a box of Legos you can do anything with, but sometimes those are put together for you, sometimes not. All right, so putting the module we already did together in one page, now with the core version requirements line, that is what Drupal 9 uses to understand compatibility. You still need this one for versions of Drupal before like 8.7 or 8.4 or something like that. Yeah, I think 8.6. Anyway, it's the old way. If you want your module to work in older versions of Drupal 8, do it. If you're only looking to the future, your core version requirement can be 8 or 9. In general, if you avoid deprecated functions, any module you make is going to work in 8 and 9. And again, whole thing fits on one page. So a few basic approaches to module building can give you a lot of power. Just like a screwdriver that has a whole bunch of tips, the basic knowledge, pick the one that fits and turn it until you get the result you want. All right, so first, a few secrets about what we just did. Main thing is now you know how to post. Even if you paste, even if you get nothing else out of this, there's lots of snippets of how to do things with code that you can find on Stack Overflow, as in the and on Drupal.org in forums, and see it flying by in Slack chat and stuff like that. And now but frequently if you don't know where to put that code, you can't do anything with it. Now you can at least say, oh, all I need to do is create that .info file. That again is in its entirety this section right here. And then once I have that, I can create a .module file. And if I'm dealing with something that describes a hook, which we'll talk more about later, I just replace the beginning of that hook with the name of my module, and I can do that. And then also, if you just want to take over a whole page, once you create that page, you have somewhere to put your code, a page defined in code. All right. So, knowing where to paste unleashes the power of Stack Overflow, which has been helping a couple million developers figure out how to quit Vim. And knowing where to put this code, that gives you to know enough to be dangerous. And I hope with just the simplicity of of being able to make a change in your Drupal site through code that you can't do through configuration, that definitively slewn the mythology that module making is a mystic domain of Drupal druids. But even that simple form alter that we showed there has a couple hidden gotchas. It only applies to the create node add form, not to the edit form. And there's a dozen variations of that humble form alter hook, and all of them are valid. And we'll show more of these types of hooks later on. So how not to make a module, how not to have to make a whole module. Finally, we'll go over how to make a module and then how to figure out how to make a module. All right. So the building blocks, we've shown you one of them is a hook, a form alter hook. There are a lot of hooks, which we'll talk about in a minute. Simple ones are examples of hooks are the form alter hook and the node insert hook. The other way for your code to influence how Drupal works is plugins. Examples of plugins are the block plugin. Once you know how to make a block plugin, you can make a block that does anything. And again, that's a place where you can drop in your code that you've copied from somewhere or that you're working on and see it have an effect on the site. You can make something appear in a block, and in Drupal, everything is blocks. So you can have that appear in any region on the site. Formatter is another really useful plugin, which lets you change how a field is output. So, you already have data in your site with the field formatter. You can change how it's output. And we have a really complex example that we can show towards the end. And then services is the other big way in Drupal 8 and 9 to affect things going on. So examples of services are the root subscriber. Using this service, you can define roots and you can get in the way of roots that Drupal has defined. And the event subscriber, which lets you react to events or do an event that other parts of Drupal can respond to. And these are, any specific example is going to show you a little bit of the general case. So you want to do something with a form, hook form alter will do it. Just to go back to that form really quickly, it had a really long name. And so instead of just being, Frankenstein form alter, which would act on every form, form alter hooks can also take the name of the form. And so this is the form node Frankenstein is the name of the form. And so it's Frankenstein, form node Frankenstein, and then form alter. Or actually, sorry, it's form underscore node Frankenstein form is the name of the form alter. And we'll give the links to where all of that's defined. But again, that's a general model. So once you can find the name of a form, which you can do but through a form alter and then printing the form ID, even if you don't have the ability to find it through a debugger or other ways, will let you alter forms and gives a lot of power. All right. So learning to learn is, I think, the most important lesson to get out of this. Drupal documentation, of course, and the Drupal API documentation in particular is really good. Drupal contributed modules. Just look at any other module. In particular, modules in the examples project, which exist only for the purpose to serve as an example, a positive example of what to do and how to do. So tons of hooks, and all of the main plugins and services have examples in the examples mod project. Drupal Core itself and its modules, I put that later on. I don't put that as high on the list of what to look at, actually, because Drupal Core sometimes sort of cheats. If it's a contributed module, it's playing by the rules. If it's Drupal Core, it may basically have some stuff that's sort of hard-coded still. So user module is one that, it's not a good example because it's doing things that, in a lot of cases, doing things that only that doesn't let itself be extended in as easily ways as it could. But for the most part, Drupal is moving towards this approach where it has a pretty well-defined and extendable core, and the Drupal module in Drupal is just building on it. So like views was a complex module that did a lot that was completely outside of Drupal, and now it's in core. But it's not anything that was done to allow views to move into core has been made available to all other modules. There's no sort of secret hooks or functions that are only useful for that one module. So Drupal Core is getting better and better as an example. And of course, using a debugger to quickly find methods and functions, even the ones you've written yourself, but also all over the Drupal code base, and to step through code in contributed modules core and the module we're working on are really useful. And then Drupal forums and issues, Drupal.stack exchange, and the rest of the internet. And then don't forget code search with just simple grep, which we'll talk a little bit later about. Like, you want to do something similar to another module, the first step is finding where its code is, and often the easiest way to do that is to find some user-facing text that's showing. Try to think of a piece of that that's not dynamic, and just search the code base for that text to find where the heck that code is called from, which you can do better with just a simple search than the autocomplete of an IDE, because it, I should really say IDE, not just IDE with debugger enabled. But the IDE isn't going to like give you it's not going to privilege a random snippet of text the way it does a function, which is good. But every once in a while, like, it's that general code search that will find you the code you're interested in. And so how about though when not to make a module? It's really pretty turtle with the contraption on its back, but you just have to believe me. It's got a spring and a golf ball on it, and it's walking along a yellow flag. Not going to break and open the files now, but can just do a quick slideshow after this while we take questions. So you don't when there's an easier way. If it's easier to hit a golf ball with the club than to put it on the back of a turtle, probably go with the easier way. So you can find a contrib module that does it. Maybe the work should be in a template, not in a module, if it's very specific to display on your site, and you don't need it to work in multiple themes, you should probably do it in the theme layer. But if it's at all data, and if you might want to switch themes, or want to allow site builders or site managers to disable their change settings, it should probably go into a module. So I show here the fact that getting to the modules section on Drupal.org is not as easy as it should be. So if you've been using just Drupal Core because you can do so much with it, there's a whole world of modules out there. You got to go to the build link on Drupal, hover over it, go down to modules, and click on that. And once there, you are in a section of download and extend called modules, and you can then search for it. And by default, it's going to tell you that 8,615 modules or something like that match your search. And that's a little over optimistic. There are not that many modules for Drupal 8 only, but you can filter for core compatibility to 8.x, which is going to get you the best case of useful modules. Change the status to all projects, not just full, because that's actually, you do want to be able to see people who are just working on stuff. So the sandbox module, maybe like someone may have written it mostly for you and you just need to take their work. So show sandbox modules, not just full projects. And then put in your keywords and search. And try several different keywords. And if you're not finding anything, remove the version. If there is a module doing exactly what you need in Drupal 7 or even Drupal 6, your best bet might be porting the existing module, or at least stealing some of its business logic code, its functional code, and sticking it into the appropriate Drupal 8 hook or the appropriate service or plugin. And then you can do the same searches on the internet across the wide, adding Drupal and module as keywords. I went back to a really old version of this presentation, and well, maybe I should have just shown that, the 2011 Prezi. But you can ask in IRC, and maybe you'll get some hardcore people there, but who will be more helpful than anyone else. But for the most part, the community's in the Slack, which is, you could go to drupal.org/Slack and see what's there, and get support in first support. Start there. That's where dealing with people getting support for everything. Then at general, you can say, like, I'm looking for this kind of module. Do you know it? And then contribute. You're at the point, well, I'm going to try to build this. So who knows about it? All right. And then if there's a module that almost does exactly what you want, contribute a patch or port it if it's not already in Drupal 8 or 9. And that's the best thing, to have code that you don't have to maintain. And note that even if your patch is not accepted, and there's no way to get in the module, you can fork the module, or if it's a not too bad trivial, if it's not too complex a patch, just use Composer to apply your patch all the time, and Composer will let you know if it stops applying. You have to re-roll it. So we patched the comment notify module to get it to do what we need. And just note that the strategy is not without risks. My colleague David Valdez-Gnuget on Drupal.org and elsewhere was made a maintainer of the comment notify module for submitting patches, and so now fixes issues all by himself. But it's generally better for everyone that you contribute patches than to make your own module with duplicate functionality. So when to make a module, when you're missing that one exact piece, the shape of a Lego heart. And so you've identified to the best of your ability that there's definitely not something out there that does what you want it to do. And I don't advocate introspection at this point. Don't bother asking yourself why you're trying to do something that no one else is trying to do. You've tried this hard, you've got to have good reasons. And then it's off to the races. So to summarize, module make is one you need and one not already made. And write up what you plan to do is a nice bonus. It's a good idea to get it out there. Groups.drupal.org/contributed-module-ideas. It's not a heavily used group. It's one module post every quarter. But if you have nowhere else, it's a great place to put your intentions out into the world, or just do it on your own blog. I mean, first of all, it's one more chance for other people to let you know there is something that does sort of what you want. It's one more chance for people to want to collaborate with you. But more than that, it's the act of putting down what you're planning to do in words is going to make you think about it much better than if you just dive directly into the coding. And you might at this point think of, oh, I can actually do it a different way. It's like, oh, I can just use a custom block, or can do this in the theme. But writing out what you want to do, and it will make your module page when you post it eventually so much better, because you'll have written more about what the module does rather than just putting a one-line comment that says I made a module. All right, so say we want to add a copyright block, and somehow, indeed, there isn't one of these already. there isn't. So generate a block with a copyright legend. now the structure is just slightly different. Before we had our .info file that's shown here, this YAML, and we had a .module file. Now we're doing a block, and in Drupal 8, blocks are no longer defined in the .module. Like a lot of things, they are their own plugin. So we'll cover plugins real quickly. And the trickiest thing, as usual, is where to put it. And so, we have, our module like named copyright.info. There's a copyright.info folder. It's in our, our module / custom directory, then / copyright. And then inside of that, we would have a directory src for source. Inside of that directory, we have a directory called plugin. And inside of that directory, we have a directory called block. And it's nested craziness like Java, but that's the way the future in object-oriented PHP. And inside that block folder, so source, plugin, block, plugin and block capitalized, you have a copyright.php file. And in that file, all you need is to declare your own namespace, which is essentially the same path we defined. It doesn't say source, but it's plugin block. It's exactly the same two folders we just created, same capitalization. We're a Drupal module, Drupal project, so it's just Drupal / copyright / plugin class / block. And then we use what Core provides as a base block. And again, this is general knowledge you can reuse over and over. This seems arcane, but this is how you can do any of your own code-defined block. And the links we'll have at the end that give you the introduction to these services. And like I said, the examples project also has tons of examples like this. So providing a block with the copyright legend. This part is just a comment. I can say anything here, but this part of the comment is an annotation, and that matters now in Drupal. So we give our block its own unique ID, an administration label that is translatable, and then we say that we are extending the base, the base block, the block base, but sort of base block class. And we don't need to do any configuration. We can immediately return in the build method anything we want. And this is, again, sufficient to actually be a useful example. This T to make it translatable, copyright year with a token for the year, so that the whole thing is translatable as a string. So if some language, it's better not to use that symbol, and better to put the year somewhere else that can. The string just would have the same token, but once it's translated, the token go anywhere. And then the year and PHP date function. All the power of go to php.net/date and see the 40 million options for using random letters to get it to print what you want. This capital Y does the 4-digit year. That's a plugin. Back to hooks. Cat in front of mirror from old site. Cheeseburger saying magic portal activate. Hooks are magic portals that let any module appear in another part of Drupal and do something. So more technically, a hook is tied to some sort of Drupal event and is an opportunity for a module to take action. There were 251 plus hooks in Drupal 7 core. After a concerted effort in development of Drupal 8 to remove hooks and replace them with these more modern and widespread, more outside of Drupal, more common programming practices such as plugins and services, there are now 288 hooks in Drupal 8.8. Good 30 plus more than there were in Drupal 7. And to be fair, some of this is because big contributed modules like views that have a lot of hooks came into core. But even after that, like we've added 25 hooks since Drupal 8.2. And we only deprecated 9 of them, which get removed in Drupal 9. So we still have tons of hooks. They're still very much a part of Drupal and a very important part of Drupal, and any contributed module in your custom module can also provide hooks. As we talked about, hooks are naming conventions. Take the hook part of the name and replace it with your module's machine name, which is the name of the folder your module is in, the name of the file, your .info file, like module machine name, like we just had copyright.info. The last one, .info.yaml, the module machine name is copyright. Before we had Frankenstein.info.yaml in the Frankenstein folder. The module machine name is Frankenstein. I know I'm belaboring that, but when it comes to hooks not working, a lot of the time it's you left it as the word hook, you left it as example from where you copied it, or you left it as, you know, whichever other code you took it from, whether it's a in core contributed module, and you're like, oh, I need to do the same hook. You need to change it so it's your module. That's sort of the magic Drupalism that it does to know what's going on. So most of these links that we're going to cover go to a page somewhere in Drupal's API reference, which is a great place to go for an overview. So api.drupal.org/API/Drupal. And that's a great overview of what tools are available to you as you pick through the pieces Drupal offers and assemble your module. And then, you know, one of the links from there is, again, sharing the links is core. Email me for, well, I'll post the links. I will also try to link from the CMS Philly site if I still have edit permissions. core.api.php/group/extending sort of goes through all of these ways of extending in a pretty solid way. So some key hooks. Hook form alter. That's what we've covered. Hook entity extra field info allows you to add a field that site builders can use in entity view mode, so they can, you know, remove it from a view mode. They can move it up or not. And so it's a set of 3 hooks that sort of fit together. Or you can use a more modern approach from a module, the extra field module, which sort of wraps all of these hooks with a plugin that's a little more convenient. So pretty common use case of you might have some data that you just need to bring together in a way that's not just about one field, but maybe combining several fields or other data that the site knows about, and, you know, creating a field that can then be added to content types or block types. Fields can be added to everything Drupal, so it's really powerful to be able to add a field to something, an extra field, both the hook or to just skip the hook and use the extra field module. It's a developer module. It does nothing on its own, but it makes it more convenient for you to add the hooks. And yeah, what were those 288 hooks? You can see all of them at this listing, and some of them are going to have well, first of all, some of them will say deprecated, you know, to work around them, but it'll say it right there as long as you're using you know, the latest version of Drupal. It'll let you know. So just the note on those links, like if you search online there was a bug in Drupal.org where 8.2 was what everything linked to. It wasn't a special better version of Drupal. It just was like when they updated the links to point to 8.2 once and never got around to updating it to the latest all the time. It now updates to the latest all the time. So just, you know, you can just delete the 8.2 off of your string and you'll get 8.9. Or if you want to see just what's in Drupal 9, you can do 9.0.x to see what's coming right up this summer. But yeah, so when you search online, you'll get a lot of results at 8.2. Just switch the latest so you know if it's deprecated. And the other thing I was going to say is that when there's things in capital letters inside that listing, that is where it's a swappable thing. So it'll be like hook entity type, blah, blah, blah. And that you can replace your entity type with node or comment or something like that. And then, of course, the rest of the internet, love DuckDuckGo, and then you can just hit !G to switch over to Google results, so you get twice the searching power. Put my blog there, Garrick's blog. I would actually look at our raw notes listing and our old data.agaric site, and I have like an internet search to search the stuff I've done. So just saying, mostly saying your own notes, like keep your notes, make them public if you can, so you can find them on the internet when you search, and you can set up search to be like show me show me things from these 10 sites, so Drupal.org and 9 trusted blogs or something like that, and that can be a good first take too if you're getting too many irrelevant results. So as you find what you're doing, you can copy, or you can have technology do the copying for you. The Ckeditor YouTube module is one that Mauricio made, generated with Drupal console. Very simple module, literally like it was basically generated. So like he didn't even have to go and see, oh, like there's a Ckeditor plugin to show, to be able to put in this kind of video. I want one for YouTube also. He was able to use Ckeditor's capability to generate that module has Drupal console integration to create plugins for it, and he was able to use that to do most of the work. And so a lot of what we're doing is boilerplate. So if you can copy down and get it to show up on your site, even if it's an error message can be great. That means your code is having an effect. Then you've got something to build on. And so